Hello, my name is Johnny Hunnicutt, and this is my video on social justice and counseling. The article that we read this week that outlined social justice and counseling defined it as all people receiving equal opportunity to access resources and to participate in policy and law development that affects them. So, what does that really mean for a counselor? I think, to me, as far as our responsibility for social justice and counseling is to be better equipped personally to meet the needs of underserviced or ignored sections of our community, whether it's minorities or another group that's not represented well in the counseling field. And as far as social justice, a lot of people tend to get a little confused by what that term means. I actually had to reevaluate my definition of that after reading this article. It's not necessarily that everyone has equal access to the same level of care, or say medical care. It's not that everyone has the access to the same level of medical care. It's everyone has access to some level of medical care, or that everyone has access to education. Not everybody may be able to go to Harvard, but everyone has access to at least basic education if they choose to pursue it. Now, as far as the biblical aspects of social justice, Luke 4:18, Jesus addresses the crowd when he reads out of Isaiah and says that the poor have the gospel preached to him. And that was one of the primary missions of Jesus, was to come to the poor because they were ignored in society. Most people didn't reach out to them. They didn't. The religious leaders at the time didn't include them. They were poor. They had no use for them. But that was one of Jesus' primary missions, was to reach to the poor. And then in Acts chapter 6, after the birth of the church, after Pentecost, we see that one of the first major conflicts in the church was when the widows were ignored in the daily administration. So that at that point, there was a social injustice pointed out to the apostles, and then they appointed the 7 deacons to take care of it, because Peter, James, and John, they didn't have time to do all of that. They said, basically, should we leave the Word of God? Should we quit preaching the Word of God and serve tables, deliver meals? But they had other things to do, so they appointed other men to do it. And the social inequality was met, the social need was met through that way.